Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype. Here on your Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. Now, before we get going, first I always like to say thank you and welcome aboard to any new subscribers. And if you haven't yet subscribed just yet, help us get to 8,000. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you appreciate this update, please leave me a comment down below, give me a thumbs up. It does help a little bit with the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go ahead and start off first by taking a look at our big picture here as we're looking at our GOES 19 satellite as we're watching this East Coast storm finally starting to move on off, moving up here toward the north and east, finally clearing out of the southeast where it's been causing a lot of problems. We have a storm system here in the west that's moving on in. We're going to have to watch this area up into the high plains as we go for the next few days here with a few chances of severe thunderstorms up that way here as we go toward Wednesday and into Thursday. All right, let's go look at the current snapshot as far as our hazards are out there. Obviously, with that heavy rain moving up the eastern seaboard, we do have some heavy rains here across Pennsylvania. We got the flash flood watches going all the way down into the Carolinas. A little fog in the middle of the country. Still dealing with the red flag warnings up here across the high plains with the warm temperatures and dry weather there. Also seeing the heat advisories. Check this out across Texas. This will be expanding quite a bit here in the days ahead. And we're also dealing with some windy conditions and dry weather here across the southwest as well. And yes, a little bit of mountain snow. It's got some winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings up there across portions of Montana here as we go for the next 24 hours. Now let's take a look at the surface map right now. Again, we're seeing things not looking too bad out there. A little bit better improved weather across the southeast. Still we'll see some scattered storms today, but the rain's increasing across the mid-Atlantic and heading into the northeast. Here's our storm system out in the west. That's what we'll watch come out of the Intermountain region. That'll fire up that active weather across the high plains and eventually come into the Great Lakes. Let's go look at some of this rain here across portions of the Carolinas. This is where the heaviest rains are going to fall today, up from Richmond, stretching down toward Washington, down toward Kitty Hawk. So a little bit wet there for this morning, and that's where the heaviest rains are going to be falling here as I show you the excessive rainfall forecast here for today here in just a second. Let's look at the looking at the Storm Prediction Center. I can't believe I said winter there, but Storm Prediction Center. As we're kind of looking at a few pockets of severe weather we got to look out for here. Now, obviously, we got this here across Virginia and into the Carolinas. We got another little pocket here across Mississippi and Alabama, and another one up here in the Dakotas back into Wyoming here. So we got three little pocket zones we have to watch. Again, all marginal, nothing too bad out there for today. Let's break this down by the category. Look at the tornado risk here. Just a couple of pockets we got to watch here across Virginia and into North Carolina. Little pocket here in Mississippi and Alabama. Again, we're talking less than 2% here, so that's not too bad. The wind threat, let's take a look at that here. The wind threat, again, those two pockets there running about 5%. And the hail threat, that's when we'll kind of introduce all three zones. There we go, those same areas with that marginal risk there. Again, we're talking Virginia into North Carolina. We're talking about Mississippi and Alabama, parts of Tennessee, and up here through the Dakotas and parts of Montana and Wyoming here for today. All right, let's check out the next 3 days here as we're going to see things kind of pick up a little bit in activity here. Your day 2 outlook here shows the high plains. Again, as that storm system pulls out of the Intermountain region, we're seeing that slight risk here across the high plains, and still a little bit of activity here across the East Coast as well, from Virginia stretching down towards South Carolina going into your day 2. We'll break down this category as well. Tornado threat running highest up here across portions of the Dakotas, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa. A little pocket right there. Look at your wind threat damage. Again, the highest will be running at 15% through the Dakotas down to Nebraska. And we got the brown here, again, 5% there from Maryland down towards South Carolina. Hail threat, that'll be the highest, obviously, across the high plains from the Dakotas down into Minnesota, Iowa, and into Nebraska. Now, day 3, the storm system will move off toward the east. We'll check out your day 3. And a big, large area here across the Great Lakes here from Wisconsin down into Indiana here. There is one little caveat to this forecast I will mention is the fact there's some variables at play that may prevent anything from being too widespread for this area. Although we got a lot of areas here, Milwaukee down toward Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, over to Detroit. It's going to be very isolated, very spotty, and there's a reason for that, and I'm going to explain to that here in a minute as I look at the model data here in just a second. So this will go beyond day 3. We'll go into your day 4. We got a little pocket there. They'll slide down into the southeast, a little bit here into Kentucky, Arkansas, and stretching into portions of Tennessee. We'll have to watch that as we go into our day 4. So again, this is going from Friday and into your Saturday morning. Now let's talk about your flood outlook here for today. Again, that area that I just showed you, that getting heavy rains here this morning, that is our kind of our slight risk for heavier rains here. Obviously, a lot of green there and marginal risk, but they're across portions of Pennsylvania down in toward the Carolinas. That's where our heavy rain threat will be here for your Tuesday. Let's go and check the days ahead. Day 2, well, we'll take it into the Mid-Atlantic and the High Plains. Obviously, we got the thunderstorms there that moving in for your Day 2 severe outlook, so we'll have some heavy rains up there. And then Day 3, still kind of holding up there at the High Plains from the Dakotas into Minnesota. Day 4, this is going into this upcoming weekend, so we're talking about going into Friday and Saturday. We kind of shift that a little bit here across areas of the South and the Ohio River Valley, Ohio, back toward Arkansas, northern Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia under the gun there, going into Friday and Saturday. And then Saturday going into your Sunday, kind of shift this a little bit back to the west a little bit here, back into Texas, which maybe will help beat some of the excessive heat they're going to be having here for the days ahead. If they get a little bit of rainfall, we'll see how that works out as we go into this upcoming weekend. So let's go ahead and look at your model data. We're going to kind of break this down. I'm going to talk about the severe weather risk, that bigger zone, as we're looking at your Day 3 outlook here. Again, one of the things that we look at as far as severe weather parameters is that we look at available latent heat, and this is called CAPE. It's fuel, okay? It's like unleaded gas, super supreme, and it's running very, very high across here, across Illinois and Indiana, going into late in the day on your Thursday night. Again, that Day 3 outlook is for Thursday going into Friday morning. So we have a lot of that, but the one problem we do have is a bit of a mid-level warming. It's going to be pretty warm up there, but there's going to be some warm air at the higher level. So as the thunderstorm starts to rise, imagine like shaking a soda bottle and you got the cap on it. It can't rise. So it's going to be late in the day when the atmosphere starts to cool a little bit. We may get some thunderstorms to pop. I just don't think it's going to be too widespread because of that cap. I think we might see a few isolated severe thunderstorms, but nothing too widespread. Some are going to get it and some aren't. So we'll watch this closely as we get a little bit closer, and we'll see what the high resolution models do when we're within about 48 hours. Now, obviously, we got to deal with this storm system up in the high plains here initially as we go in toward tomorrow, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about the fact we got a couple of things we got to talk about. We got this system here across the east that's finally moving up to the north. Here's that storm system in the west. Yeah, bringing a little bit of snows there across portions of Idaho, Montana, and areas out there. So as we go forward here, we're going to watch the high plains. We're going to watch that precipitation move up into the northeast. And then we got this storm system coming out here into the plains as it pulls on out here going into late in your day on Wednesday. So your Wednesday, Thursday, obviously we got some thunderstorms here across the Dakotas and down toward Nebraska. Again, that's where that slight risk was. So it looks like it's going to be late in the day Wednesday, going into Thursday morning that we'll see the storms flare up. Yeah, still got some snow back out here into Wyoming and parts of Montana as well going into Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. We'll take this forward again, going into the day on Thursday. We see the storms there kind of sweeping through Minnesota. And as we go into the afternoon, again, here's the thing. The NAM right now at 5 o'clock is showing absolutely nothing in this zone right now. So we'll see what happens as we get a little bit closer. Again, we do have a high cap in place, that warm air at aloft that's going to cause a little bit of a problem. It does start to fire off, so try to fire off some storms here a little bit late. You kind of see these little pop-ups here across Illinois, Arkansas, just a little bit, but nothing too bad out there for right now. So as we get a little closer, we'll be able to fine-tune that Day 3 forecast. The slight risk is there because the parameters are there as far as, we got the instability, we got a trigger mechanism there, we got a little bit of helicity, maybe isolated tornado too possible, but again, that cap might be a little bit of a problem. And going into your Friday, we get a little more thunderstorms in there going into Friday night. Looks like Friday we got a few storms there across Kentucky and into southern Missouri. They're just, again, very spotty here from Pennsylvania, stretching back in toward Missouri and parts of Arkansas. We'll see how that works out as we go into your later day on your Friday. Let's go and talk about rainfall amounts. Again, with the thunderstorms up here across the high plains, you're seeing some pretty good significant rains up here. Basically 2 to 3 inches in some localized spots. Obviously the mid-Atlantic with that rain that's kind of hitting in there today. Areas across Virginia and into parts of Maryland. Maryland looking high, maybe up to 3 inches, but generally 1 to 2 inches in a lot of locations in there as we go for the next 84 hours. Now, let's take a look at the extended outlook here as we're kind of looking at the overall weather pattern flow here. I'm kind of looking at the 500 millibar level here as we're kind of seeing what's going on. The blues are kind of your storm tracks. It's your lower pressure anomaly. The areas that you see there in the orange, that's kind of your high pressure, okay? So you can kind of see over the next 7 to 10 days, we got a pretty active flow here with these storm systems coming on out. And each one of these could set off a potential for severe weather. As we go toward the end of the model run, though, the track does appear to start to shift back off toward the north a little bit. So we'll have to watch that closely. But right now, we got a couple of these disturbances that are sliding out. One going in toward Monday. Obviously, that's the Monday there, and going into Tuesday. I'm going to slow this down a little bit, and we'll talk about these a little bit. Let me stop this real quick. As you're going to see these storms swing on out. So this is the one we're tracking here for this upcoming week, going in toward Thursday. We got that coming on the high plains, and that's the one that's going to set up the severe weather going into Friday and Saturday, assuming that it can override the cap that's going to be in place there. All right, so it's going to move on. That slides into the northeast. Then we got another disturbance coming out. That's that one coming in toward the 20th. So this is going into the 20th and 21st. We'll have to watch that one for potential severe weather again, going in toward the 20th and 21st. And then that slides off toward the east there, okay? So we're not going to worry about anything beyond about 10 days, but that's what we're looking at right there for the next 10 days. All right, so let's go ahead and break this down again. Well, let's look at what we've got. This is going in toward Friday. Again, the end of that 84-hour run there from the NAM. We're going to the European now. Again, you're seeing these storms across Pennsylvania, stretching back toward Arkansas. That's about what the NAM was showing in the same locations. All right, as we go on forward again, this is going into your Friday evening. Got some storms there, and these storms will kind of flare up into the southeast here a little bit going into Saturday. So Ohio River Valley, Arkansas, maybe getting into northern Alabama, northern Georgia. Could see maybe a marginal or slight risk of severe weather going in here, going Friday night into Saturday. We'll see how it works out as we get a little closer to that. This moves off toward the south. Then we got another cluster here going into Saturday. This is your Saturday. You're seeing some storms here across Dallas, getting into Shreveport areas right in there, going into your Saturday afternoon. And then it moves off to the southeast there. Then we watch that next storm system. Again, we got that other storm system coming out of the plains, so we'll have to watch this one going into Monday. So this is that severe risk going into Monday. This one will probably have a little bit more of a tornado risk with this, a little bit better upper level dynamics with this coming on out. And yes, still looking at some snows there across Wyoming as we head into the 19th and into the 20th. So this is going into the 19th, actually early in the morning. So we're going 18th and 19th, and this slides off toward the east here. And then you see some more storms here going into the 20th. So we got a couple of rounds of severe weather going into Monday and going into Tuesday on both these days. Then it kind of moves on off, and then we get those severe weather potential going off into going into Tuesday night. This shifts into areas of Illinois. So we're looking at Tuesday evening. So we got several rounds of this as this kind of propagates out going in here, basically from the 18th to the 20th. So expect several days of potential severe weather going in toward next week. We're going to take this out to 240 into this. This moves off toward the east. Again, just the same general thunderstorms there across portions of the northeast. Doesn't look severe at this point. And a few thunderstorms there in the south. Again, with the heat we're expecting down here, some of these probably will pulse up severe going into Thursday evening. So that's going out for the next 10 days. Your 10-day rainfall totals, pretty decent. Looks like a lot of the country is going to see above normal precipitation here over the next 10 days. I think the climate outlook is going to support that. You see a lot of these heavy rains here across portions of the Dakotas, showing 6 inches plus, 4 inches here across portions of Pennsylvania and in Minnesota. And even the south, depending on where these thunderstorms flare up here, showing 2 to 4 inches of rain here. So we got some pretty decent rain chances here across the Ohio River Valley, the southeast, and across the high plains, obviously with that active storm track, although it's still a bit dry here across southern Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of western Texas. Again, that's for the next 10 days. Let's go ahead and talk about the temperatures for it. We got to talk about this because Texas, I'm telling you, they're going to bake here. Not only are they going to see record high temperatures here for today, probably several days ahead. You notice that purple there? That's 95-degree temperature heat and above here for today. Like here's 103, 96. You factor in the humidity, it's going to feel even warmer than that. And this really is going to be sticking around here. Like, let me take it into Wednesday after, again, a lot of 100-degree temperatures plus in this area, 103, 105, look at you, 110 down here near the Rio Grande. We're talking excessive heat here. These are air temperatures, not feel-like temperatures, air temperatures. So record-breaking heat across the Rio Grande area there. And let me take that off real quick. And then this, well, it sticks around. Again, looking at Thursday here. Look at Thursday. Again, look at that purple. It stays there going into Friday. Stays there going into Saturday. Stays there going into Sunday. So again, no big help. We're going to get a little bit of relief up here across the northern plains. In fact, you kind of, if I take this forward here in time, you kind of see that green, the overnight lows, you kind of contract that. We got some cool air kind of coming in here. So you can kind of see the dividing line between where the cool air is here and then the warmer, mild air to the south here as we go toward Wednesday of next week, going toward the 21st. Again, we got that active storm track. You got the storms that'll be pulling on out here with the cool air kind of bumping into that warm air going in toward your Wednesday. So that's what's going to be setting those storms off as that begins to push off. You see it kind of pushing up to the south and east. Then as we go to the end of the 10-day, looks like we start to break down the heat just a little bit there across Texas, but it does look like the heat starts to build here across the southwest here. So the heat's kind of contained here. And a big part of the country, it looks like it's going to cool off here a little bit as we go toward the 22nd. So it looks like we're going to see some below normal temperatures kicking in here for a big part of the country as we go deeper into the month of May. So let's go ahead and see if that's what the Climate Center is showing here. That's what the long range are kind of showing. And this is going out from the 18th to the 22nd. So your 6 to 10 day outlook does seem to support the fact that we're going to have some cooler temperatures riding here across a big portion of the country. Looks like the warm weather, there's going to be the hot weather, is going to be confined here to the deep south here from the Carolinas back over toward Texas. A little bit above normal out here on the west coast as well for that period. And then going out from the 8th to the 14th, you see the cool down here kind of shifting off toward the east here a little bit as we got the little cool shot here coming across the Ohio River Valley and into New England, even beating down the heat across the south. And we start to warm up here out in toward the west. Again, this is going from the 20th to the 26th, almost to the getting toward Memorial Day weekend. 6 to 10 day as far as precipitation, that's going to stay pretty active here. So again, at least through this period, we'll have to watch where those boundaries kind of set up and where that severe weather risk is going to set up. We got a couple days this week. Looks like we got 2 or 3 days additional for next week we have to watch. Looks like it's going to be drier here out toward the west coast. West coast going to be a little bit dry out here, but definitely wet. The big old W. I know it's a lousy looking W, but that's what we're going to see there going out from day 6 through 10. And then going out further, still looking wet here across portions of the Ohio River Valley here, going into that period, and just plain old drying out here on the west coast. All right, so it looks like we're in store for some active weather. We got to watch this week. The high plains here going in toward Wednesday night. And then Thursday, late in the day on Thursday going into Friday, we'll watch the Great Lakes and see how they're going to evolve again with that cap in place. That's the only inhibiting factor I see there. So any kind of thunderstorms, I think, across the Great Lakes, even though a fairly large area there is under that slight risk for severe weather, I think it's going to be pretty spotty and isolated. We'll see if that changes as we get a little bit closer to it. All right, if you guys appreciate this report, again, I could use every bit of help I can get as we kind of work very hard to try to get toward that 8,000 mark as far as number of subscribers. If you could please consider hitting that subscribe button. It'd be an honor and privilege to be one of your weather sources out here in the YouTube universe. All right, that's y'all's update for now. Again, y'all be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. Till then, you guys have a pleasant day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.